Hey, Stephanie, how you doing? Thank you so much for getting this early. I think yes, you did. You posted this on the 30th. So I'm assuming that you want some nice early feedback so that you can address any inconsistencies that might be in your presentation from the actual specs. So that's awesome. I think that shows really, really good incentive. And that's good. That's how we work as designers. I mean, it's really a good idea to get work in early as you can, and to receive as much possible feedback as you can. So I'm impressed. This is not the first time that you've submitted early, so I really appreciate that. So I certainly don't mind jumping in here a little early. I know this isn't due for a few more days, but that's cool. I'm perfectly cool with this. Okay, so let's talk about the presentation and the actual intent. All right, now I think that your design work is great. It really is. I mean, it's phenomenal. This looks fantastic. The shirts, the brochure. You've got a wonderful eye for design. Okay, that much is true. It's very, very obvious. The design is gorgeous. I'm having a little bit of an issue with the presentation itself. And let me tell you the reason why, because this is a course-long project, okay? So I always look at these projects and I say, okay, how can I help this student gear this project towards presumably the end goal? And that's a stellar piece in your student portfolio. And so I'm kind of a portfolio-driven instructor, as you had me before. And students that have had me before, I work towards that end. That's important to me because I think that's the most functional part of what you're going to take away from your education is your actual portfolio and the ability to show your skills. That said, I think that a course-long project should be presented in a way that really shows that it's a course-long project, meaning that it should be in full presentation mode. There's some things that should really be thought about in terms of headings, subheadings, your major thesis, your basic presentation. Okay, so I think that, let me just jump over here, and I want to show you this page. Now, this is from week 5. Remember our week 5 discussion. We talked about the contract, right? But this is so important right here, a creative brief. I mean, this is not the first time. This is a 400 level class, 450. I mean, this is not the first time that you've seen a creative brief. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I think it's really important to include a creative brief with any sort of presentation, specifically a major presentation like this one being a course-long project. So, in your presentation, I suggest sneaking a creative brief right in there and really giving some solid information to the viewer who is, after all, the person you're trying to communicate with, okay? Right now, I think that these questions really need to be asked. What's the objective or the purpose of this project? And I don't mean a one paragraph. I mean to start really including all of the research you've done thus far into your final presentation. It makes sense in your portfolio because as you will be sitting in front of a portfolio reviewer or eventually a hiring professional, and this piece comes up, you're able to describe it as a course-long project culminating in this sustainable trade show exhibit and associated design elements. Okay, so and do we have that right now, Stephanie? Do we have that right now? We have 2 paragraphs of textual information, and that's it. And I don't think you're giving yourself justice. I mean, you've been doing hard research, and you've got this wonderful materials list, and you've got the sketches, and you've been working your butt off. So let's show it, man. Let's show it in the presentation. Let's get everything in here. Everything you've worked on back from week 1. I'm talking about even your brainstorming ideas, etc., your first iterations, your second iterations, your first ideas that didn't work, and all of that stuff in here, especially those materials and your research pointing to the fact that you know how to research, or you know how to design using sustainable materials. Okay. Remember back in week 1, I said The design part of this project is only half the project. The other half is showing that you know how to design sustainability, so that when you graduate, if you have a client who wants you to design a sustainable project, they're in good hands. Okay, so we need to show that in your work. So let's talk about this. Instead of jumping in here and just coming right in here, let's start with an introduction, basic thesis. What are you doing? Okay, what are you trying to show us in an introductory thesis paragraph? And then start moving into your objectives. Background and overview. Who's the target audience? What effect do you want to have on that audience? What is the most important thing about this project? You could add a few things in here. Look, and you can also include initial creative review, rough sketches, revised sketches, final creative presentation. Show this. Basically, it's saying show your work. We want to see it. I do a lot of portfolio reviews. I do Cleveland chapter AIGA portfolio review, student portfolio committee every year, and have been for the last 10 years. So this is what we look for. We look for complete presentations. Okay. I know I've used this work before, and I don't want to discourage anyone, especially, someone who's done just gorgeous work, but I want to show you some presentation techniques that I think might work. And I'm going back to Fresh's work, and, so note each page is the same size with the same background. Okay, orientation is the same. Each page has a title or an introduction. Okay, so in terms of presentation, we can see that you've got different pages oriented different ways. There's no real headings, so that's going to cause some confusion to your viewer. Okay, now we jump orientation here again. We jump right into this. There's no description. There's no evidence of showing that you have a good grip on materials. Okay, and then so do you see what I'm saying? I really think that stuff like this is going to go a long way. Here's all the research right here. Look at all the research, and all of the every piece is covered in research and showing sustainability, not just talking about it, but showing it. Okay, now, and then not only is the giveaway a tree, what is it called? A sapling, I think they're called, the little seedling. But guess what? The paper, you can throw it in the ground and it grows too. So it's, you see what I'm saying? It's just really well concepted and thought out. I think yours is also. I think your strongest point is your design. It's gorgeous. This is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Okay, you're showing, who we are, what we stand for, and what you can do to help. That's great. I mean, plus the design is gorgeous. I still think this big round circle here is just too bloop, too blop. It's just there. It's so heavy. When it's unfolded like this, the eye almost gets sucked into this vortex here because of that big round dark block, which gray recedes anyway. So it's even further pulling us into this kind of weird relationship with this big circle where we look at it first and then almost ask its permission if we can go out and look at the rest. I hope that makes sense, but that's the best I can put it. All right. So anyways, I would like to see that. I would like to just see full presentation mode, complete. Get your background pages, set it up in InDesign with master pages, and make sure each of your pages and design. Don't just show your sketches on background. Show it on a designed background. Okay, so there's another. These aren't really designed pages, but they're not designed. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, they have good color. They have good consistency in typography, and subheads are all indicated by a different color. So it's good stuff, right? I'd like to see your presentation start to get that kind of consistency, so that each page, each piece is clearly indicating what its role is in the big picture. Okay, I know I just took 10 minutes to say this, but that's what I really think. I really think that the presentation needs help. If you need suggestions or any kind of advice or anything, I can really give you some good suggestions But I don't like to play art director. I like to let you guys figure that out. And you've done a wonderful job figuring things out so far. So I think we're in good hands. All right. So awesome job. And thank you again so much for posting early. And okay. Any questions? I'm right here. Thanks, Stephanie. Good job.